Hi, I'm just going to talk a little bit. Just a few thoughts. Uh, a comment was made. This is for, and hopefully I pronounce this correctly. I don't know how you say this, but Alma Farag. Is that how your username? You made a comment about this little guy over here. Here he is. This is actually a hedgehog, and it's a Beanie Baby. And his name, and it's on his thing, it says Prickles. Because I guess they like hello prickly things, hedgehogs in real life. They're kind of like porcupines. But anyway, this one, he's nice and soft and cuddly though. And he's always back there in the background. I have other characters too, this one, which the little tag fell off of it, but this of course is the angry deer. Hi, I'm a deer. Anyway, that's just only part of what I wanted to say. I just want to talk about a few things, and that is about expanding your thinking, about expanding ideals. Sometimes people want to start a revolution, so to speak, in life, or a revolt or something. Yeah, I've been in situations like in a job where people want to sort of overthrow the regime at work and break free from the binds that tie you, so to speak. And then that's all they can think of, though. They don't really have any ideals that even if they get their way, even if you succeed in having all your grievances answered, every restriction that was made on you and everything that was done, once you get everything you asked for, sometimes the worst thing that happens is to get what you asked for. Because if you don't have a plan after that, what do? So you want to get rid of all these restrictions at work and have it where you can go to the washroom without having to, fill out a 5-page report that I went to the washroom and tell what color it was and everything else. Once you lift all these restrictions, then what? I think one thing in life is a lot of times we want to be free. It's like when I wanted to have my own place and I wanted to move away from my parents. Yeah, all you could think of is when you're in one situation is just getting away from this. I want to leave Kansas and go somewhere else. I'm not in Kansas, I'm in Illinois. But anyway, the thing is you want to get away. You want to escape. But once you escape, now what? I think one thing I think about religion and all the stories about God and everything, I look at all the little religious books I have, especially the things from the Jehovah's Witness. I have so many of their things, and I was so into that. That's the reason why I bring them up. I suppose if I was Catholic, I'd probably be talking about the Catholic religion. But all these stories about heaven, they have these really beautiful pictures of heaven and the earthly paradise. They don't have any pictures of heaven, and you have to kind of get into the organization, understand the whole differences. The way they see heaven is a little bit different than other religions see it. But most of us are going to be living on the earthly paradise. And those pictures look so wonderful. They're nice pictures of, I should just show some pictures because I don't have those books around right now in the immediate area. But, I think it's just more like ideal of escaping. Because there's all this talk about how the world is such a terrible place and how it's just such a bad place and everybody's so evil and, all the wickedness. And then one day we're going to escape and go to this wonderful place where everything is peaceful and happy and people are picking fruit. They always have beautiful pictures of people picking fruit from the trees. The little girl sitting down in the grass right next to a lion, petting the lion, because animals will be tame. All the wild animals will be tame and everything. And they won't, And there's the little lamb right there next to the lion. But, the first thought that occurred to me when I look at that image is, what about when that lion gets hungry? Like I'm just thinking about the little girl. She loves the lion. She loves the little lamb. Oh, cute little lamb. And then the lion gets hungry and says, all right, enough of this. Enough of this earthly paradise thing. I'm hungry. There's a lamb. I'm sorry. The lion turns to the little girl and says, excuse me, little girl. I'm sorry. I know you like that lamb. I know you do. And I'm really sorry. But you got to make a choice. because I got to eat something. It's either you or that lamb. So somebody got to go, and they're going to have to be a tragedy here in the earthly paradise today because I'm hungry. And the little girl said, oh, but you can't eat Mr. Little Lamb. You can't eat him. Yeah, I'm sorry, but hey, come here, lamb. Yeah, you just a nice little... I'm sorry, I'm being ridiculous, but I'm also thinking that the picture is ridiculous too. Because I doubt that, every animal is suddenly going to change its nature and suddenly, act a certain way. They're going to do what's in their nature to do. And nature is going to be nature. Unless somebody can explain to me how exactly that's going to happen. I just think it's a nice fantasy. A kind of escape into a different world. You don't really have a plan, but somebody else has a plan. Of course, you don't need a plan. Somebody else has it. Somebody else has that plan. In everyday life, that runs contrary to the way, that image runs contrary to everything we know. Because in everyday life, we have to plan our world. We have to do things. I got a plan, for example, in a little while, I have to change my infusion set on my insulin pump. I got to do that in the next few minutes, so I can't make this video too long. Because then I got to do that and go to work. So I have to plan out things. And I have to do things based on the nature of the way things happen. This thing totally disregards all science, all of the way nature really occurs. And is more of a reflection of fantasy, which actually I'm not really even criticizing that view, that image. But I think we should call things what they are. We should call a fantasy, and that's all it is. It's not a fact. It's just a wish. It would be nice if the world were a nice, friendly place and everybody could just be at peace and we didn't have to work, and you could just walk around this beautiful garden and lush greenery and wonderful place, and there was no damage to the environment. Everything would be repaired, because I've heard that. I have a little podcast that the Jehovah's Witnesses have, and they would talk about it. God will restore the earth, and it's all nice. It's like a really wonderful, and it's a beautiful dream. It really is very beautiful imagery, but it is fantasy. And to me, I think to myself, one fantasy is as good as another. So, when I read those books, I actually indulge in a fantasy myself. I kind of get into it, like getting into a movie. And I get into the thing when I listen to the podcast, when the guy talks about stuff. But I just know that that's fantasy. I think the one thing in life, you have to know the difference between what's real and what's fantasy. And it's okay to fantasize, but just know that a fantasy is fantasy. Because when you finish fantasizing, then you got to get up. And you got to go to work, and you got to change your infusion set like I do. And you have to pay your bills. Like I got to pay my mortgage, and I got to pay my, other bills, and I got to pay the electric bill and everything else. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. So just know the difference. Know the difference between fantasy and reality. A fantasy is a nice temporary escape, but then you got to come back to reality. That's all. Don't get confused.